Hello and welcome back. This is video 3 of our 4-video series on some advanced formulation features within the Ink Formulation 6. We're also utilizing the Color Quality 6. And in this video tutorial, we are going to use ColorNet to grab the references that we created in video 1 and begin to formulate. Alright, so in order for us to do this, we have to get logged into both programs here. Alright. Okay, so briefly reviewing what we did, we created a job in color quality in video 1, and we assigned two references from printed material that our customer had given us from previous jobs. We changed our quality control procedures for what the customer supplied to us. In video 2, we created basic materials and applications using those basic materials. And now we're going to begin our formulation, okay? Okay, so we're going to click on our formulation reference here. And we're not going to go to the color libraries this time, of course, and we're not going to attempt at remeasuring our printed sample that we got from our customer because the DEs might be different than or the spectral data might be different from the reference that we created in color quality. So we're going to actually go to color quality and get our references. Now if you follow the lineage here, essentially you go to color quality, then you go to your SQL database, then you go to Jane Doe, and in Jane Doe is jobs, and in those jobs is job 999 that we created in the first tutorial of this series. Okay, so I'm going to begin with the light green, and we'll grab it out of there. I'm going to measure my substrate to create this formulation. We're using a pressure-sensitive white BOPP. All right. This is a lighter color, so I'm going to attempt at hitting it at a 3.1 BCM, I think will do. And we're going to get into applications. Again, we created these applications using basic materials in tutorial 2. Now I'm just going to simply grab my surface print. Okay, it's going to add 3% AVPW24 automatically to my formulation. Select my transparent white. This is a white BOPP, so I'm using lamination film extender, essentially turning lamination ink into a surface print ink with my application and adding 3% of a wax additive to give me my scratch and scuff resistance properties. Alright, it's no longer going to be a lamination product, it's going to be a surface print product. Okay. Standard pigments, and we'll see what we get. Okay. So there's our first formulation. Alright, this one wants me to add a little bit of water to reduce the viscosity a bit. And there we go. So I'm going to create another formula simply by clicking on this, and we'll grab our red and set up the same formulation. There's our red. Substrate of last measurement, of course our last measurement was the BOPP, so that's fine. This is a really deep dark color, so I think I'm gonna want to hit it at something closer to a 5.6 BCM. Alright, our surface print application is already selected. We'll move forward. Make sure that we select our lamination film extender and our standard pigments. And we'll go through here. Okay, so there we go. Before we move further, we want to save our formulations, make sure that we save everything that we do. I'm going to create a folder, and this folder is going to be job number 9999 to correlate with the job that we created in color quality, of course. I'm going to set that job as my working folder, and then I'm going to save all the recipes inside it, all the recipes that I'm working on here. Okay. Now, if I had a larger job, I could, of course, just create all the colors in the formulation, and that's generally what you want to do, because why work on one color in a job and then move to the next color in that job once you get that on spec? Not only are you going to waste a lot of downtime, but you're going to waste a lot of material. I prefer to get all the colors on press, ready to go. When we pull the first run, I'll correct all those colors at the same time, okay? And then we'll get the job on spec quickly and accurately. I'm going to pause here, head to the laboratory, and weigh up these formulations. Actually, before I run and weigh up these formulations, I noticed something that I'm going to want to change. In the first tutorial that we did on formulation software, we just picked the x-rite optimum. I don't want to do that this time around because this formulation seems to really not make any sense to me. We have a purple here, you know, and it might match the curve great, but it doesn't really make any sense as far as the application goes. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. To remove it, I'm going to just do a quick reformulation of this red. Alright, so there's my red. I'm going to run through this one more time. Substrate flash measurement, everything's still saved in here from what we did. We did 5.6 BCM, surface print job, lamination, standard pigments. Okay, so I'm going to let it pick the x-rite optimum, but now I'm going to just find one that makes a little bit more sense to me. Now this is a deep red. I could visually take a look at the printed sample and say, well, maybe it's close to a 186 or something like that. But to me, what makes sense is rubing black and warm red. Alright, so that formulation makes sense to me. Not only are we not adding any additional cost by adding purple to a deep red formulation, but I think the color will get a little bit more accurate. Okay, so I'm going to save this one over the red that I did before. Save that one, so that one's gone now. Okay, and we have our light green and our red. All right, now I'm going to go to the lab and weigh these formulations up because I think they're a little wiser, and we'll go from there. All right, so I'm back from the lab and I have my rollouts. I have the green printed at a 3.1 BCM on the VOPP, and the red printed at a 5.6 BCM, kind of simulating two different decks on a printing press. Okay. Normally I would do a correction right away, but since we're mimicking a press side environment, I'm going to switch over to color quality. Okay, and open our job. Go to job, open, job. In Jane Doe, we have our job number 9999. We're going to kind of just see where we stand with our colors. Okay. I like to switch our windows here, so green and red. See how our green looks. It's looking a little strong to me, to be honest. Okay. Okay, so it says we're passing. That's our green. I'm going to back out a little bit here. Okay, so way on the yellow side of the spectrum. Alright. Technically under a 2DE CMC, so if we wanted to, we can go ahead and print our green, and it would be within our customer spec under 2DE 2000. Alright, let's check out where the red is. Okay, and we have a fail there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my, we're looking at a DE 2000 or 3.31. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot back to the formulation software. I'm going to stick with the green formulation that we have, and I'm going to call it a proven formulation. The red, we're going to correct. Okay? So to get started here, I'm going to go ahead and choose my correction feature with the red selected. I'm going to measure. Alright, make sure that I'm choosing the proper extending varnish, the same extending varnish that I have in my original formulation. And we're good to go there. Okay, so it says we're going to pass. It wants us to reduce it down quite a bit. So maybe I might want to recalibrate my 5.6 BCM analogs, my 5.6 BCM thickness object, because the color probably wasn't that far off, but the strength was far off. So it's going to reduce it down. Alright. Also notice how it added a little bit more of the wax additive here. It's going to keep everything proportionate. It's going to keep my 3% wax additive in there. Alright, so I'm going to head back to the laboratory and make my additions to my red cup. Alright, so we're back from the laboratory. I'm going to minimize ink formulation 6 here and check out our correction with the red. I overshot the black just a touch. Sometimes human error can get in the way, but I don't think it'll affect my readings too bad. Okay, 0.83. Perfect. All right, so we're under a 1DE 2000 D5010 as to our customer specifications. You can see all that down here and right here. So what I might do is jump in here and say first run approved a.c.t. Okay. And again, if we wanted to, we can go ahead and get a little closer on the green, but it's under a 2DE, it's passing. So for today's purposes, I'm going to say first run approved, okay, and CT, and apply those. So these samples, okay, are now going to become our QC standards moving forward. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the job again, database jobs, Jane Doe job 999. We're going to modify the job. And to modify it, we're going to add our new standards. So the references that we used were printed by somebody else. These standards, the QC standards that we're going to actually go by when we run this job for future references, we're going to do what we did, what we created on our press. Okay? So our new reference here, let's measure it in. All right, red, and we'll say QC standard. I'm going to put in the additional description how I created this standard. So this is, let's say, press 1, 5.6 BCM, no OPV, white BOPP, DE2000, good to go. All right, I'm going to create another one, and this is going to be our green. Let's measure this one into the system. All right. Green QC standard. So this was printed at a 3.1 BCM on white BOPP, no OPV. Okay. And there we go. So now we have our original job saved, and moving forward we will QC against our new QC standards. That's okay. And close out of here. Now let's go back to ink formulation 6. Of course, we don't want to lose our formula, so we're going to save right away. I'm going to say red plus 1 add. All right. I'm going to save that recipe. It's going to break it down for me. Okay. This one's already saved. So we have our QC standards now, and we have our QC formulations. And actually, I'm going to rename that. So I'm going to save it. We have red plus 1 add. I'm going to save it as red final formulation. And we'll put in the BCM, 5.6 BCM volume. Save recipe. We'll go to the green. We'll rename that as well. We'll say green final formulation 3.1 BCM. Okay. So essentially what we just did here is, if we were actually on press, is we started with a completely new job that we've never ran before. We formulated those recipes quickly and accurately, got our colors approved on press, and now we should be up and running. So this should reduce our downtime drastically. The ink formulation 6, in correlation with the color quality 6, really does a great job at getting your colors on spec very quickly and accurately. I appreciate you following us in this tutorial here. In the next tutorial, we're going to take the formulations that we created and put them in as ink leftovers for future formulations. I'll see you there.